If I were you, I would not make this mistake if I'm buying real estate, especially residential real estate in current real estate market. And this mistake can cost you thousands of dollars, not just right now, but also after the closing. So which are these mistakes and how you can avoid? That's what we'll be discussing in this video. Current real estate market has been setting new norms, and that's why it's kind of new cycle happening, which we have not seen since many years. And there are a lot of changes are happening, especially behind the scene, where you would not experience just looking at the online. That's what I'll be breaking down, because I'm not just a realtor, but also I'm investor. We constantly buy properties, but when you're buying property, every market is not perfect market. Every market will have plus and minus, but definitely you need to learn what is happening behind the scene before you even think about either you're buying for yourself or you're investing or even you are selling a property. Then also these facts will help you to strategize your marketing too. Before I start this video, to make it easier for you, here are some points I'll be discussing. So number one, inspection things. We'll be discussing more in detail. What are the things you need to watch? And if you don't watch out, especially right now in current real estate market, then definitely this is a big red flag and can bring a lot of regrets even after you close. Number two, I'll be discussing about what are the contractual terms like appraisal term you should have and how you can make it more stronger contract if you are buying a property or investing a property in current real estate market to protect yourself. And number three, we'll be talking about the all favorite interest rate and how it's going to playing a role in future in rest of the 2024 real estate market. We'll be not only discussing about the Florida real estate market inventory, but also we'll be touching down some other states and also globally what is happening in behind the scene is inventory wise. And last but not the least, we'll be discussing what are the other bonus points which is very important to evaluate when you're buying in real estate, especially right now. So stay tuned till the end, because last few points are very, very important to understand how the market is behaving. Number one, inspection. Never ever waive inspection, especially now current real estate market. Even though you negotiate at front, because a lot of properties which are non-remodel are going with the discounted prices. You have a big room for negotiation, especially right now, because properties are staying longer in a market. And that's for the sellers too. If you're selling a property right now, even any of the states in United States, including Florida, make sure you have a proper marketing strategy, because remember, not at the contract when somebody puts an offer, if you do not have a correct property, then not only that time they negotiate, but also the inspection time. Right now, a lot of negotiations are happening. So a lot of what I've seen, some buyers are making mistake as like if they fall in love with some property for XYZ things, maybe the outdoor is beautiful or maybe the square foot is beautiful, and there is a reason behind that, because right now the inventory is too tight. That I'll be discussing one of the points, but inventory is very, very tight, even though right now the market is experiencing some kind of freezing icing effect where it feels like it's not moving too much, but it's not because of the buyers are not in a market, it's because the inventory is low. And that is why the buyers are getting the very less choices, and they feel like, okay, I'm going to lose this property if I don't act with the strong offers. So there are some buyers who are making mistake where they fall in love with the property because of this low inventory thing, and that is why they like to waive even inspection. I would never ever advise to waive inspection to any of my clients. And I would not advise you to, even though you're in a different market. I know some markets are getting hotter. Like for example, just recently I heard in New Jersey and New York market, they are started getting the like bidding wars, especially now we are going from spring to summer market. So you would experience that, but never ever waive inspection. You could put the shorter days. Maybe you can put 2 days or 3 days. Your realtor has to work a little faster, but it's better to do inspection right now, because this can bring, if you don't do inspection and who knows, there's a structural defaults or the plumbing problems or electrical problems, that can, like small issues, I don't care, but those big issues are really concerned, especially after the closing. You may find out that it's a big regret in your bucket added. Now, number two is low inventory, and that's what I was explaining before. Right now, the market is too tight. Too tight, not because the buyers are not in a market. There are a lot of buyers who want, but they don't have too many options. And it is a low inventory market. And that is why do not fall in love with any of the property. You could wait a little bit. Don't rush towards. If you're renting a property, then keep renting. The inventory will come up. Right now, it's too tight. A lot of sellers who have a 2% or 3% interest rate, they don't want to sell, or they don't want to plan B. And that's going to be there. Trust me, this market is not going to move that fast. So this is the first time ever we saw spring market not being too hot. Otherwise, spring market always starts to pick up. It's like accelerator you push, and the summer market goes more faster. This is a season where a lot of transactions happens, but right now what we saw in spring market is not been happening a lot of sales. And that's because of the inventory issue. That's not because of the buyers. I have tons of buyers who are looking property, but I'm telling them, do not rush for anything. Don't compromise, because this is a market to negotiate. This is a market where if you getting the perfect property is something you will have almost everything what you want. It's kind of harder, but if you still get it, this is a market to negotiate, and it's going to come slowly. It's going to pick up. A lot of sellers are understanding now. A lot of sellers are getting settled. So, and the market is not always depends on the interest rate. This is kind of one of the norm people think about, but market also depends on the emotions. A lot of house moments, like a family things, things will happen in a family, and that brings the real estate transaction, especially the selling side. If you get a job on other state, and then definitely you have to sell the house. Right now the market is like that, where you cannot afford two properties in the same time, because this is the market where it says like more than 80% you need to have an income to afford a house in the current market. So it is not too easy to buy and not to sell the primary property. So the inventory is still going to come, but it's slowly going to come. So you should wait until you get your best one, and do take an advantage of the negotiation which this market is offering. Number three is some contractual terms like appraisal is very, very important. Some market has started a bidding wars. I would not advise to waive appraisal, or even not to offer more than asking price, because remember, this appraisal is the value decided by the bank. You do not want to buy something overpriced just out of the emotion, especially right now. Imagine this is a higher real estate interest rate market where it's almost double. Like when I bought a house in 2015 2016 time, we had around 4%, I would say 4.2%. It wasn't like 3. Like we did refinance to lower rates, like 2.5 now, but it was a little bit higher. Before pandemic market, the rates were running. This is, even though you don't compare with the pandemic market, but before pandemic also, if you compare, this is almost double. And this is a really big surprise for a lot of buyers, because the Fed announced earlier in 2024 they are going to cut the rates, but they didn't cut. Instead of that, they started increasing. And one way I do understand what they are trying to say, because if they don't do this, the market can flush with the multiple offers and all these factors which I'm talking about contractual. You do need to put to get your house if the sellers are getting multiple offers. So to control the market, they are kind of putting at the steady rates, almost around 7 to 7.5. That's what running. And I would not be surprised if it goes to 8% also in a couple of months. So 2024 market, hold your horses, do not go out of the emotion, have a strategy here. I'm an investor myself, so I never stop buying real estate. But you need to go with the strategy. That's what the main thing. And you do have a control of the purchasing power. Interest rate, you are not in control at this moment. That controls by Fed, but the purchase power is in you. So never ever try to buy something overpriced. If the appraisal goes low, comes low, even though you are under contract, you should leave that property if the seller is not convinced to go to the number of the appraisal. Because appraisal, having the 5,000, 10,000 gap, I understand that's not a big deal. I'm talking about the huge gaps, because recently I heard almost 50 to 60,000 dollar gap also in appraisals are coming, and which is not advisable to fill that gap, especially right now. In pandemic market, people were paying overpriced, people were paying above asking, and that's how the market went up so fast, because they were paying either cash offers or they were doing more like a bidding in terms of contractual terms, which is inspection and the appraisal. So I would not touch those terms right now, especially. And if you are in some other market, and if you're a realtor already, I would say, if the realtor is not advising that, then definitely take this advice and try to act accordingly. And if you're in Florida market, feel free to contact us if you like to represent from our team. We do serve whole over Florida. Now, my next point is about the Fed interest rate. What's going to happen, what is happening now, and what is going to happen. So a few things I already touched, where the Fed is keep increasing the rate instead of cutting down, because initially they said earlier that they're going to do maybe 3 or 4 cuts, and that's where the buyers were too much hopeful. But see, we are almost half a year and they didn't cut significantly at all. Not even significantly, but they didn't cut much at all. So right now it's still going up and up. And as I said, I would not be surprised if it goes even 8%. And those are the facts which you need to consider. And that brings the points of some of my bonus things is affordability. If you're buying in current market, please make sure you have a steady job, you are able to afford the mortgage. Do not look at the purchase price. As I said, you can negotiate that purchase price, but your first homework comes, you should be able to afford with the interest rate which is current, because we don't know when it's going to change. I know everybody talks about you can refinance, but how long can you hold that number? That's also you need to plan, because real estate market or even stock market, nobody knows what's going to happen, right? It is always a risk. In pandemic, people thought about, oh, it's going to drop, but it picked up. So that kind of thing will be there. That's why you need to do your homework. I'm not saying you stop buying. If you're paying a rent of $4,500, I would not stay in a rent for a long run, because rents are not cheaper too. But you do with the strategy. Do not go for the dream home right now. Go for something which makes sense, which can supplement your rent, or substitute or your rent, so you are not paying to somebody else's mortgage, but you're paying your own mortgage. And interest rate, that's why you need to consider, because that's variable in nobody's control. And what I see in the future, they may not reduce, trust me, right away. It may take a while, because the market has to feel the price reduction. Right now it's feeling it, but is not as significant. The negotiation are happening. If you are going with a strategy, you can get the discounted price properties are staying longer in a market. So a lot of changes we are seeing it, but it's not up to the market where they would go from 7% straight to 5%, because that can create a chaos. My last point is, never ever buy a property right now which does not have equity in. What I mean by that, so if you're buying a property, if it is over exhausted, so what do you mean by over exhausted? There are some properties is over remodeled in a cheaper neighborhoods, that it is over exhausted. You cannot push the equity up in that market, in that neighborhood, that for that particular home. So you need to have a strategy when you're buying. What kind of strategy? So the home and the neighborhood has to have a room to grow. So when you buy a home, and if you put, let's say, the brand new kitchen or brand new roof or brand new impact windows, all those things converts into the equity. So if you immediately even do the appraisal after putting those new kitchen, if the comparable is supportive in the neighborhood, then appraisal guy will consider and you will see the equity on a paper. I'm not talking about the immediate equity, but down the road also you need to have that room. So right now is the location market, because if you buy in a cheaper neighborhood, even the bestest property, but it will not serve you in the future, and you are going to regret, literally regret, and lose thousands of dollars, because let's say something happened in your unfortunate thing happened in your life and you may have to sell that house. If you do not have equity and this market is already struggle and you want to sell, you remember this, you do have a closing cost involved. If you do not have equity, then you may have to incur the loss. So this is a strategy where you're buying right now. It has to be long term, or you have to have this equity strategy placed where you are going to improve your house or buy in one of the great neighborhoods where you have a comparable supportive and your house can bring the money in your pocket. If you're someone who wants to do more research about specifically Florida real estate market, also I have a specific videos about it on my channel. And if you like this video and you stay till here, I really appreciate your like button and comment me below what you are experiencing in your market. I would love to hear from you and have some love from you if this video was useful. Thank you.